In August 1977, a modest council house on Green Street in Enfield, North London, became the epicenter of one of the most infamous hauntings in modern history. Over the span of more than a year, the Hodgson family, Peggy Hodgson and her 4 children, experienced a series of strange and terrifying events that would capture the attention of police officers, journalists, and paranormal investigators from around the world. What began as unexplained knocking sounds soon escalated into one of the most well-documented cases of poltergeist activity ever recorded. The first sign of trouble occurred one evening in late August. As Peggy was putting her children to bed, she heard strange knocking sounds coming from the walls of the girl's bedroom. Initially, she dismissed it as a prank by one of the children. However, as the knocks persisted, it became clear they were coming from deep within the walls themselves, beyond any rational explanation. The situation quickly escalated. Furniture in the girls' room began moving on its own. One night, a chest of drawers slid several feet across the floor, seemingly propelled by an unseen force. Peggy tried to push it back into place, but no matter how hard she pushed, the chest wouldn't budge. At that moment, she realized something far more sinister was happening. Within days, the paranormal activity spread throughout the house. Objects began flying through the air with alarming regularity. Toys, marbles, and even kitchen utensils were flung across rooms, sometimes striking the children or bouncing off walls. The most unsettling part was the way these objects moved, without any apparent force and often landing without a sound. In one particularly disturbing incident, a Lego brick was hurled at Maurice Grosse, a paranormal investigator from the Society for Psychical Research, who had been called in to study the phenomena. The brick struck him with such speed and force that it left a bruise. Grosse, along with fellow investigator Lyon Playfair, would go on to document hundreds of hours of the haunting, becoming key figures in the investigation. However, the most chilling aspect of the Enfield haunting was the disembodied voice that seemed to speak through Janet Hodgson, Peggy's 11-year-old daughter. The voice, which identified itself as Bill Wilkins, was deep, gravelly, and utterly unnatural for a young girl. According to the voice, Bill had died in the house years earlier from a brain hemorrhage while sitting in a chair. At first, the family didn't know what to make of the voice, but what it revealed was both eerie and compelling. Bill Wilkins described details of his life and death that the Hodgson family had no prior knowledge of. Investigators later confirmed that a man named Bill Wilkins had indeed lived in that house and died in the way the voice described. Grosse and Playfair were able to record hours of audio of the voice speaking through Janet. What made the case especially remarkable to researchers was Janet's ability to maintain the voice for long stretches of time without showing signs of Are you enjoying today's story? Smash that subscribe button so you never miss another spine-chilling tale. Let's get back to the video. Despite the fact that producing such a deep, guttural sound should have been physically impossible for a child. As the haunting progressed, Janet became the focal point of the phenomenon. She reported being slapped, pinched, and even dragged by unseen forces. Witnesses, including family members and neighbors, claimed to see her thrown from her bed and hurled across the room with such force that she sometimes hit the wall. On several occasions, she was seen levitating above her bed, suspended midair by an invisible force. The most famous photographic evidence of this phenomenon was captured by a remote camera set up by the investigators. In the image, Janet appears to be midair, seemingly thrown from her bed. While skeptics suggest she could have just simply jumped, those present, including neighbors and police officers, attested to witnessing her floating without any clear explanation. What made the Enfield Poltergeist case stand out was the number of credible witnesses who came forward. Local police were called to the house early in the investigation. WPC Carolyn Heaps, one of the responding officers, filed a report stating she seen a chair move across the floor on its own. Despite a thorough investigation, the police found no logical explanation for the movement. Journalists from the Daily Mirror who visited the house also witnessed objects being thrown across the room. In one instance, a journalist saw marbles being flung at high speed, but instead of bouncing, they landed unnaturally without a sound. These first-hand accounts, along with the recordings of the Bill Wilkins voice, lent a rare level of credibility to the haunting. Throughout the ordeal, the Hodgson family reported a wide array of unsettling phenomena. Along with the knocks, they heard growling, hissing, and whispering coming from empty rooms or the walls themselves. These noises often woke the family in the middle of the night, following no predictable pattern. The children also reported seeing shadowy figures in their bedrooms at night. Janet, in particular, claimed to see the outline of a man standing near her bed, but whenever she screamed or called for help, the figure would vanish. As if the moving objects and voices weren't terrifying enough, the family also experienced spontaneous fires and unexplained water puddles. On one occasion, a fire broke out in the kitchen, only to extinguish itself moments later. On another, water mysteriously pooled on the floor without any apparent source. The Enfield Poltergeist case continued until 1979, though the most intense activity occurred in the first year. As abruptly as it begun, the phenomenon eventually subsided, leaving behind a trail of questions that remain unanswered. Janet Hodgson, now an adult, has since reflected on her experiences, acknowledging that while some of the details may have been exaggerated, much of what happened was genuine and beyond her control. The case remains a cornerstone in the study of paranormal activity, drawing both believers and skeptics. With hours of audio recordings, photographs, and eyewitness testimony, the Enfield Poltergeist stands as one of the most well-documented and mysterious hauntings in history. An eerie reminder that sometimes the unexplained forces of the unknown may intrude into our lives. Thanks for watching.